Zichronot, memories. During the year, we often face challenges and distractions, and this year more than most. On Rosh Hashanah, there's a strong sense of coming home. I find this throughout the prayers, but nowhere more so than in the middle bracha of Musaf, known as Zichronot, memories. For me, this is the most emotional of all the brachot that we say during the entire year. This bracha of Zichronot takes us on a journey, starting with the theme of God's remembrance and judgment of each one of us. But it concludes by asking God to remember his covenant with us. The bracha begins, Ata zocher maseh olam. You remember the making of the world, all the creatures ever made. Ata zocher kol hamifal. You remember everything ever done. Every country and every person is judged and their fate decided. Ma'aseh v'kudato, each person's deeds and their mission. Each one of us is placed in the world with certain skills, abilities, potential, and circumstances. Our task is to use all of these abilities and our circumstances to achieve only what we can achieve. But there's also machshavot adam v'tachbalotav, people's thoughts and the tricks that they play on themselves or the excuses they make. God examines each person's actions and their thoughts. We live in a world that is harshly judgmental at times. If someone stands for office, you can be sure that someone somewhere will remember something bad that they once did, many years ago when they were young. And when we stand in front of God on Rosh Hashanah, what chance is there for us? He knows everything. But then the tone of the bracha changes. There follow 10 biblical quotes, all of which speak about God remembering, and they are all positive. We read that God remembered Noah and saved him from the flood. We read that God heard the suffering of the Israelites in Egypt and remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We quote a verse that says that God will remember the same covenant in the future. And we are part of that covenant. And this changes our whole perspective on this day of judgment. And then we have 3 verses from the book of Psalms. They remind us of God's miracles in the past, like the Exodus from Egypt, of how God fed the Israelites in the desert and then how he led them into the land of Israel. Not because the people were so righteous, but because of the same covenant that he made with our forefathers, and because of his compassion. Then we come to the Nevi'im, the prophets, the most moving of all these quotes. Zacharti lachesed nu'raich. God tells Jeremiah to tell the residents of Jerusalem just before it was destroyed at the time of the first temple. I remember the kindness of your youth when you followed me in the desert. Haven yakir li Ephraim. When the offspring of Ephraim sinned badly, God yearned for Ephraim, this treasured child. I will have compassion on him, God says. When a wayward child comes home to the parents, they remember how sweet he once was. They've longed for this moment, and they will embrace him with a full heart. We are that child. We may not have so many merits, but God remembers who we are. Like all good parents, God overlooks a lot and has compassion on us. God is not only Malkeinu, our King, as we said in the previous blessing, he's also Avinu, our Father. We therefore do not stand alone when God judges us on Rosh Hashanah, because we are part of a Brit, a covenant, not just the covenant of the patriarchs, but also Brit Sinai, the covenant of Sinai, that we will always be God's people. And in conclusion, we ask, Zochreinu zikaron tov lefanecha. Please, God, remember us favorably. We've moved from a day of judgment to a Brit, a covenant. We recognize we're part of that Brit with all of its responsibilities. And now we ask God also, Zocher HaBrit, remember the covenant. We have come home. I want to take this opportunity to wish everyone Shana Tova M'tuka, a good and sweet year, free from further sorrow for all of us, for Klal Yisrael, the people of Israel, and indeed for the entire world. Shana Tova.